Willie Nelson isn't just a country legend. He's living proof that pain can bloom into poetry. The man who once gave us On the Road Again didn't just sing about freedom. He lived every mile of it. His voice carried the sound of open highways, heartbreak, and hope stitched together through decades of storms. But behind that familiar warmth lies a lifetime of loss, loneliness, and fight, the kind of ache that shapes a man's soul more than fame ever could. Long before the world knew his name, before his songs healed millions, Willie was just a forgotten boy in Abbott, Texas. Born in 1933, his story began with abandonment. His mother disappeared first, gone without goodbye, and not long after, his father followed. Willie and his sister, Bobby, were left behind with their grandparents. Poor but gentle souls who tried their best to raise two children the world had already given up on. His grandfather, a blacksmith with rough hands and a soft heart, became the boy's first hero. He placed a guitar in Willie's small hands and taught him the sound of strength. But fate was unkind. Pneumonia took his grandfather when Willie was only 6. The loss shattered what little peace the boy had found. Our parents weren't dead, Willie would later write. They were just gone. That's a wound words can't soothe, a pain that lingers even in laughter. By 7, his calloused fingers were already pressing strings not for joy, but for survival. He played gospel in church and country tunes in bars before he was 10. Not because it was fun, but because it made the loneliness a little quieter. He wasn't chasing fame. He was chasing connection. Every lyric he wrote was a question whispered into the dark. Why did love always leave? And even as a child, his songs carried something older than his years, a sadness that would one day echo through jukeboxes across America. The Texas sun burned down on him as he picked cotton, his small hands bleeding, his heart learning the rhythm of endurance. While other kids played, Willie sang to silence. He didn't know it then, but every heartbreak was writing the first verse of a destiny that no one could erase. But the road ahead wouldn't offer mercy, only harder lessons. Because before Willie became an icon, he had to survive the kind of darkness that almost silenced him forever. The long road to nowhere. The Texas sun doesn't just shine, it scorches. And for a young Willie Nelson, that heat became a daily trial. Bent over cotton fields, his hands blistered and bleeding, he learned that survival doesn't always come with comfort. By his teens, he wasn't dreaming of stardom. He was just trying to get through another day. By 14, he'd already lived a dozen lives. He trimmed trees, sold encyclopedias door to door, spun records as a disc jockey, and played late-night gigs wherever anyone would listen. He did it all, not to chase glory, but to chase dinner. I was selling $600 sets of encyclopedias to folks who couldn't afford dinner, he once recalled. It didn't feel right, but I had no choice. At night, he sang in smoky bars. By morning, he was back to scraping by. Sleep came rarely. Hope even less. Nashville, the so-called heart of country music, slammed its doors on him over and over again. They said his voice was too rough, too strange. But the truth was, they just didn't understand the kind of soul that bleeds truth instead of polish. One night in his 20s, the rejections became too heavy. Living in a broken-down trailer near a cemetery outside Nashville, the weight of failure pressed down like stone. In a moment of despair, Willie walked out into the middle of a busy road and laid down, not to make a scene, but because he didn't know what else to do. Cars swerved, horns blared, but no one stopped. Was I relieved or disappointed? He later wondered. I don't know. I just got up and went back to the bar. That night didn't end with applause, but it marked the birth of something stronger, resilience. Because sometimes the greatest act of courage is standing back up when no one's watching. With nothing left to lose, he tried hitchhiking to Portland to find his mother. No one stopped. Rain soaked his clothes as he curled up in a ditch beside his guitar, shivering and hungry. And just when life seemed ready to break him, a stranger, a truck driver, offered him a ride and $10 for a bus ticket. That small act of kindness saved more than a journey. It saved a dream. It was then Willie realized that every storm, every scar, every lonely night was shaping him into something the world wasn't ready for, but would never forget because the world didn't yet know it. But the man they called Too Rough for Radio was about to change the sound of country music forever. The outlaw becomes a legend. Some men write songs. Willie Nelson wrote survival stories and melody. After years of empty pockets, sleepless nights, and doors slammed in his face, his faith in music was all he had left. In the late 1950s, he was broke, living in a modest apartment in Houston with a baby on the way. He poured his pain into a gospel song called Family Bible, inspired by his grandmother's voice echoing through childhood prayers. When hunger came knocking harder than hope, he sold the song's rights for just $100. The song became a hit, only not for him. His name was nowhere on the record. That heartbreak would become a cruel rhythm in his early years. He wrote Crazy, the timeless ballad that soared through Patsy Cline's voice. He penned Funny How Time Slips Away for Billy Walker and Pretty Paper for Roy Orbison. The world was humming his heart, yet no one knew it was his. Behind every jukebox success was a man sitting in a dark room, writing for rent money, wondering if his own voice would ever be heard. Nashville said his sound was too raw, his look too plain. They wanted glitter. Willie offered truth. They wanted rhinestones. He came with braids, bruises, and a guitar that told the truth too loudly for comfort. By the early 1970s, Nashville quietly pushed him out. His marriage fell apart, his home burned to ashes, and RCA dropped his contract. At 39, Willie was broke, heartbroken, and done pretending. He drove back to Texas, not for fame, but for freedom. Austin was different. In its smoky bars, hippies and cowboys drank from the same bottle, and nobody cared what you looked like as long as you played from the soul. Here, Willie stopped chasing approval and started writing for himself again. In 1973, Shotgun Willie hit like a confession, raw, unapologetic, alive. Then came Phases and Stages. Heartbreak laid bare, but it was Red-Headed Stranger that turned him into a legend. Critics said it was too quiet, too strange, too simple. Yet its silence spoke louder than any polished hit. The album went platinum, and Willie Nelson became the face of a new rebellion, the outlaw country movement. He wasn't just back. He was redefining what country music could be. But while the crowd cheered his resurrection, behind the spotlight another storm was brewing, one that no melody could drown.